The Strain episode 4, it's not for everyone. Simply put, this was a good episode. They combined certain storylines by the end of it. They pretty much, in my opinion, I feel like they didn't really waste any of this episode. Things happened that were worth happening, things were said that were worth being said. And it could be argued that, of course, them going back to the guy who's like the criminal, him and his family, people could argue that that was sort of a waste of the episode, but he's clearly one of the main characters. He was in the first episode, so they're gonna jump between. Sort of, I guess they're sort of the supporting characters. They're like the main cast, but they're obviously not the main cast. You have the main character and his CDC people, and then you have the other people who are involved with the epidemic, like the pest control guy. Still don't even know his name, but he's clearly an important character. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in the show at all because he hasn't come in contact with any of the other characters in a single moment. All he's done is his job. He was in the location of like the rock star and the lawyer, and in the episode he was introduced in. But really, that was it. He didn't come in contact with anyone. He wasn't on screen at the same time as anybody. He was just in those episodes, and he's done his job, and that's really it. So it's clear that them going back to the criminal and showing his family and the little stuff that he did in this episode, the only reason that's important is simply because he's the main character and he has an important role. He works with the villains of the series. Just at this moment, he's doing his day to day thing because, of course, not everyone's just gonna be like, "Oh, I ran into one of these crazy creatures," or "I found someone who's becoming sick" or something. That's just not gonna happen at this point in the series because the virus hasn't really spread that much. But it was a really good episode. I enjoyed. We find out that the old guy is actually alive. We hadn't seen him for, I think it might have only been an episode. I think an episode or two, but we find out he's been alive. They didn't really do any. They didn't help him like they promised they would. I thought that was kind of the moment where they were supposed to help him when he saw the creature, and then I of course thought he got tricked because it seemed like he was just gonna die off. But especially when they didn't show him, but he's alive and he's getting a liver transplant, but he hasn't really been helped by them. They tried contacting the guy. He hasn't really gotten in touch with them. Maybe he doesn't give a crap. I don't know, but he's working on his own little plot, and that one part, him getting sick, I don't know how that's gonna affect anything with his character. If he lives, then maybe he'll be a bit stronger and he'll be able to go after them a little bit easier than being stuck in that room all the time, having to have the temperature regulated and stuff. So maybe that'll change things around. It seemed like he was getting stronger anyway because he wasn't just like lying in the bed and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe that'll help him go after and kind of get the reward that he was promised. But we also got some stuff where he basically said like, "Hey, this is what the virus was. It dissipated. I kind of need you to promote what I'm telling you to promote." And so he kind of has his own little thing so that, of course, the virus can spread even further without people questioning it anymore and thinking, "Oh, it happened, but now everything's said and done." So he's working that angle, and he hired the woman in the beginning of the episode to basically just hack systems so that they couldn't spread any information out, and she's done that already. And they even reference it, which was something I thought was actually pretty cool. They referenced that in the other guy's storyline when he went to deliver the truck with his friend. The guy that they went to was like, the phones are down and stuff like that. It's hard to get in touch with people. It's because of the other storyline that was in this episode. So I thought that was pretty cool, and it shows that with things already being messed up as far as communications go, it's gonna cause conflict within the rest of the series because they won't really be able to get a word out to people. It's gonna be like a shutdown for New York City, so that would be pretty cool, or New York in general. But that'll be pretty cool. So I'm excited for that. But it was definitely, other parts of the episode were really really good. Them actually getting to some of the hard details of the monsters. One of the big things when they did the autopsy, that was a really cool scene. It was kind of gross at the same time, but it was pretty cool. Didn't need to really see it because it didn't like expand anything. But of course, with them being the characters they are, it would honestly be sort of stupid if they didn't, because they've been trying to figure out what is this virus, why is it doing this, why is it doing that, and then you kill a creature. Of course, it's gross. I mean, I would have no reason to do that because I'm no scientist or CDC worker. I don't have any of that useful knowledge where it's like, if I saw this, I would know it's, a new airway or anything like that. I'd be like, it's like veins and stuff. I would know, but they do the autopsy. It looks gross. He pulls the I guess the stinger. He pulls the stinger out, and that was a really gross scene. It was just super long, and then he got to the end, and it was gross, but it was cool practical effects. Like it was an actual thing inside this fake body. And you could tell when he was getting to the bottom of it, it was like a big lump moving throughout this fake body, and it like moved all the little body parts, and it moved through the throat, and it looked nasty. But I thought that was kind of cool. The effect of it was very practical, and it looked sweet. But of course, it's meant to look nasty, and it really does. But that was an interesting scene. Of course, they find out exactly what's going on with the box. They find out that their friend, I can't remember, honestly, I can't remember anyone's name in this show for some reason, because I feel like it's just not really that important. But they find out that their friend was working with the company, and that he pretty much, he helped the box get through. And of course, he had no idea that it was poisonous. He thought it was just a box full of soil too, just like they did, because the reading said that. So of course he feels bad, and they kind of hate him because he let this happen, even though he didn't know. But he's pretty much the main cause for it, because if he wasn't there, then the guy wouldn't have got through. But they kind of ended that 10-year friendship, and I'm sure he's still going to be in the show, of course, but for now he's just been cast aside. He might come back and try to help them out in some way. He might try to get answers on his own, and then go back to them like, hey, this is what's happening, we can do this or do that. But for now, he's been cast aside as sort of just helping the villains, and that's what happened. And then we also got to see, I guess, the nerdy guy. We got to see his transformation, and this was an episode where, like, his character in general, him and his wife really have kind of just been doing like really stupid stuff. They were doing like the typical horror like stuff for characters, where it's like, I'm really sick and I'm doing this weird stuff, but no big deal. Like I'm going crazy, I'm losing my hair, like I do this and my hair falls right out, but who gives a crap? My eyes look like they're about to explode, and I'm just drinking blood out of the steak bowl, and you caught me. But no big deal. Like no, like none of that mattered to them. They were doing like horror movie stuff, or it makes no sense. Like no one, I mean, that would happen. It does happen in really extreme cases. People are that dumb, and that's kind of what we got in this episode, where it's just, once again, for those characters, it was just like, it's just dumb stuff. Like, she took the kids away, and left the dog. He of course killed the dog. He ate the dog, and then one thing that I did like was that he actually chained himself up. He was conscious enough to know, like, I just ate my dog, I need to chain myself up. He didn't chain himself up well, because he could have still killed his wife, because his arms would have come out much longer than his face would have. So he still should have been back a little bit further. But I thought that was cool. He tied himself up. He fought it a lot, and he fought it enough to know, if she comes in here, which she probably will and did, which is also kind of dumb, I'm gonna be chained up. I can chain myself up, and I won't be able to hurt her. I won't eat her too. So I thought that was a great scene. That was pretty cool that he was in that really tough transition, like final transition, which he did change by the end of this episode, especially when he ate that guy, who was a total dick. The neighbor was a dick, and that actually made me like his wife, because she was like, when she went to the house, she couldn't find anyone. Thought maybe he took the dog for a walk, and then she was doing like the prayers and stuff, and it was like, I don't really want to see like the ultra religious character in like the horror stories and stuff, where she's just like, oh, faith this and faith that. It just seemed like it would be really uninteresting to just throw that in there. And honestly, I thought she was gonna die in this episode. I was like, when she was had the pills when she came home, I was like, oh, she has pills later, I wonder what that's for and stuff. And I was like, what does it matter? She's dead anyway. She's not gonna make it out of this episode. But I was wrong about that, so I guess that was a good thing, because I really thought she was gonna die when she went in there. So that was good. It wasn't cliche, like she went in and he was just like moving around. He locked himself in somehow, I don't know how, but he was just in there moving around, and she went in and was eaten. He was locked up, and she actually survived. But what made me like her was that she did basically push her neighbor in there when he came back, or when he came over because he thought it was the dog. And he was just like, he was clearly a dick. Like, they made him that way specifically, where it's like, you don't really care if this guy dies. But I mean, they did it well. The guy came in and was just like, he's tired of the dog, which is a normal thing. You can be tired of a dog, And then it was just like other complaints, like the news reporters and stuff. He said that as if that was their choice. Like, oh yeah, they want to be stalked in front of their house, 24 hours a day, because this guy was on a plane where everybody died except for him and three other people. Of course, that's what they want for their life, as if they chose to have that happen. And he was mad that the people were peeing on his tree and stuff. I mean, you could be mad about that again, but it's not really their fault. It's not like they wanted that to happen or chose for it to happen. And like he hit their dog before and stuff when the dog was in the lawn, and he was just the way he was talking, like either let the dog out so it can be fine or teach it some discipline or something like that, as if she was stupid or something. And so she was like, you're right, I don't have the heart for you, why don't you go ahead. And he was actually gonna like whoop the dog and stuff, which just made him seem like a really intense character, made him seem crazy. And she opens the barn and just pushes him in. I thought, well, that instantly made me like her character, because she really switched from like having all the faith and stuff and kind of doing the really stupid thing where she was like, I'm not afraid and stuff, and that's how she found the dog. And like I said, I thought that was just gonna end up getting her killed, which made it really dumb. It made it even dumber, because just the typical what's happening, what is these noises, I'm gonna walk towards them type of thing, horror movie cliches that make people dumb. But I don't know, I feel like when it's based I don't know if which is dumber really, if it's like you try to do it through faith or if it's just you're naturally stupid. I don't know. But that her I don't know, that typical cliche type of moment didn't happen. And then like I said, she's kind of just flipped the script at the end. She had like cards and rosary beads and all that stuff. And then when it was like she didn't want the cops called, because she still gives a crap about her husband even if he is turning into a monster, she decided to instead lie to the guy and trick him, and she shoved him in there and got him killed. So that kind of made me like her. That was an interesting part of the episode. I don't know where that's gonna go, and I can take some guesses based on the preview that we get at the end of the episode, but I'll get to that at the end of the review, because there were still some other cool moments. And really the last big moment was the end of the episode, when the storyline between the main character, basically all of CDC, because it's really only the main characters, as far as I'm concerned, that are even involved with the CDC. So the CDC and then the old guy, those storylines officially converged. And I guess technically so did the one guy, sorry, because he went to the old guy and he gave him the clock back. So that was, a little touch of their stories connecting again, because his brother was the one that stole in the first place. But at the end of the episode, they go to the house to find the guy and his little girl. They find the little girl, and they're about to get killed. The guy chops her head off, and then the woman, she really freaks out, because it's like, a little girl got her head chopped off. And then they almost get killed by her father, who is also officially changed, because it's been, once again, I think this episode did like a full 24 hours. I think this episode might have done like 2 days in one episode, because when they stole the car, that was at night, and then it went through to the next day. I think it did, at least. But he saved them from both the girl and her father, and he had to explain to him like, hey, this is what we gotta do. Like, I need you to go get some gasoline. We're gonna burn the bodies, and I gotta go through this entire checklist on everyone that was on the plane, because none of these people are officially dead yet. And I think in the next episode, maybe either the next one or the one after the next one, is when we're finally gonna get to see where everyone else is, because they woke up at the end of the very first episode, and we haven't seen a single thing on them. They're all walking around like, I mention this every time I talk about them, but when they first basically came back to life, one guy had like his head chopped off. A woman was open from like the neck down to her stomach, just wide open. They were looked at. Their bodies were opened up for science, basically, so the coroner could figure out what the heck happened to them. And even if they healed up, which I'm sure they did, unless they were smart enough to be like the main villain, where they put on all the makeup and the fake hair, they look like, you know, monsters. They have like the bald head and the really like pale looking skin, and their faces and their eyes look different. So I don't know what's happening with them, but I'm really hoping we get an explanation as to how they've just been going around. Maybe they've been underground, like literally in the sewers and stuff, because I do remember a scene like that where they showed the sewers. So they could be under there. That could be why the rats are going into the sewers, which happened, I believe that was last week's episode. But I'm definitely excited for next week. like I said, the stories kind of converge with the old guy and the CDC. So the main character and the old guy are officially going to be working together. And they go to like the nerdy guy's house and they go into the actual shed. So maybe they went because they knew like these are the four infected people. They also showed the Rockstar guy like dragging a woman. So he's officially changed to I have to assume they're gonna go and actually show us the lawyer woman because they haven't shown her since she had the blood drop out of her nose. So they'll probably show her like at her house, and she probably ate her entire family or something, and they're just all walking around inside the house or something. But they go to the shed in next week's episode, so I'm sure they talk to the wife, and she's like, I don't know what to do with him. He's turned into a monster, so they're gonna kill him. They're gonna go. They might kill the rock star. They might have a fight with him and not actually be able to kill him, and he might escape. And like I said, hopefully they will show the woman because with her being the fourth survivor, they kind of have to show what happened. They haven't shown her since, like I said, the little blood came out of her nose, and that was it. And we've had every other character. The captain's been killed. He was autopsied in this episode. We've seen the nerdy guy go through his transformation in this episode. The Rockstar went through his in the last episode completely. So I feel like we have to get her now, especially since they finally killed off one of the four survivors. They have an opening to just show the other survivor that we haven't seen for like 3 episodes or 2 episodes. But I'm definitely excited for next week. I think this was the beginning of things really picking up. So it was that was kind of another reason I really love this episode, and I'm really excited for next week. Of course, comment below. Let me know what you guys saw of this episode, your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and what do you guys want to see now that things are really ramping up? Do you have any expectations? Are there any characters that you really want to see meet? Because I'd love for the like pest control guy to meet the old guy. I feel like they'd make like a really interesting combination. Because I feel like once he learns how things are gonna go, he's gonna be like the one with all the weapons, and then it'll be like the main character will be like the brains, the old guy will be like the know-how, and then the pest control guy will be the one who has the technology to basically help them do that. And of course, with him, and I mentioned this before, with him being in pest control, even though it's just like rats and stuff like that, he does at least have some knowledge of how creatures work, and he'll with it being television and it being an actual storyline, I'm sure there'll be some way for him to translate his knowledge of like rodents and stuff into tracking the creatures, and it'll be some minor connection that somehow works out and makes him useful to the team. But what do you guys want to see in these next couple of episodes now that things are really ramping up? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.